everyone, my name is Amanda Hoffman, and today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about Chlorophytum comosum, or what is more commonly known as the spider plant. Specifically, I'll be going over how ascorbic acid is able to mitigate the toxic effects of chlorine and fluoride that is found in irrigation water sourced from our taps. So we are most likely all familiar with spider plants in our homes, suspended from hanging baskets and shooting off these little spiderets. Their native range, however, is far away from the resident spot in our living room windows, and it can be much more indicative of the environmental conditions that they require. They are found within the Afrotropical realm, which is the region of Africa spanning from Cameroon to Ethiopia and southward. It is characterized by dense tropical forests and forest-savanna mosaics. While its geographic range spans the southern half of Africa, it is much more commonly found along the coastal borders within this region. The linear leaves and parallel venation give it away fairly quickly that this plant is a monocot, but it is nestled within the Asparagaceae family, which includes, to name a very few, agaves, dracaenas, hostas, and yes, even asparagus. And characteristic of other herbaceous perennials within Asparagaceae, spider plants also display alternate sheathing simple leaves, but their variegation differs based on the cultivar. When not hanging in our homes, spider plants spread in clumps through their rhizomes and adventitious roots, produced at the end of these spiderets. And if anyone has ever grown spider plants, you know that they are fairly tolerant of periods of drought, and this is because they have thick roots that allow them to sequester away water and nutrients for times in which it is really needed. In spite of their adaptations to survive periods of drought stress, they still require moderate moisture and will grow best in loamy, well-draining soils with a neutral pH. They are intolerant, though, of direct sunlight, as bright light will scorch their leaves. They are an understory species in nature, so placing them in partial sun to full shade at moderate temperatures will yield the best results. And overall, they are considered a low-maintenance houseplant, but there is one specific problem that houseplant parents seem to run into when growing spider plants, and this is necrotic leaf tips. Even when you do everything right as a houseplant parent, brown tips on spider plants is a common and unsightly occurrence. But what exactly causes this phenomenon? Is it from underwatering, too much light, or from being too close to a draft? Well, the answer is much more complicated than a new location or more rigorous watering schedule may fix. In the tropical areas that spider plants are native to, its water source looks like this. In our homes, however, the source of water for these plants often looks like this. And this is where the problem lies for our spider plant woes within our city's water treatment system. Now, it's not the entire water treatment process that is the issue, but one step, the addition of disinfectants. To disinfect the water that we get from our taps, chlorine gas is oftentimes added as it is cheaper than both sodium hypochlorite and calcium hypochlorite. When chlorine gas encounters water, it oxidizes and forms free chlorine as hypochlorous acid, a form of chlorine that is harmful to many plants, including our spider plants. So, chlorine is not the only addition to tap water that can be harmful to spider plants. Fluoride is also added to the water to maintain dental health in children, at the expense of some plants. Now, at face value, these additions seem to be independent factors affecting the health of spider plants. And besides, what does disinfection and plaque reduction have to do with each other? Well, as it turns out, they are much more interconnected than one may initially think. Now let's break this down. Chlorine by itself results in oxidative stress within the plant caused by overaccumulation of hypochlorous acid, a reactive oxygen species. This reactive oxygen species is able to pass through the plasma membrane of the cell, damaging plant biomolecules and resulting in tissue necrosis. And when fluoride is added to the mix, though, this problem is exacerbated, and it promotes overproduction and accumulation of these reactive oxygen species, like hypochlorous acid. But the free radical doesn't just result in dead brown tips, it also negatively impacts overall plant growth, hormone production, and the plant's response to stress, and if concentrations are high enough, they may lead to death of the plant. Now, oxidative stress is not limited to spider plants, or plants in general for that matter. Humans can be affected by it as well. But fortunately for us, we have this thing. It prevents oxidation reactions. One may be so bold to call it an antioxidant. I think it has C in the name. Ah, yes, vitamin C. Vitamin C, or more technically ascorbic acid, is a well-known antioxidant, and as the name suggests, it prevents oxidation reactions from occurring. This is why numerous studies have focused on its effectiveness at removing free radicals from drinking water, and it worked. These findings influenced my project because it is able to reduce the subjectively noxious taste of hypochlorous acid in the drinking water. couldn't it also be used to reduce the hypochlorous acid causing oxidative stress in spider plants? Well, let's find out. The treatments consisted of 250, 500, and 1,000 milligrams of ascorbic acid dissolved in 1 gallon of tap water, as well as a control which received no ascorbic acid. The plants were watered every Wednesday for 7 weeks with 2 cups of water from their respective treatments. The spider plants were grown from plugs in 6-inch pots that contained substrate as well as a 20-10-20 fertilizer. All the treatments were grown under grow lights, following a 12-on, 12-off photo period. Now let's check out the results. Wet weight was recorded first, showing a substantial increase in weight when concentration of ascorbic acid exceeded 250 milligrams per gallon. And then the plants were dried in a dehydrator, and dry weights recorded. The pattern was the same as far as wet weight, with plants treated with 500 and 1,000 milligrams of ascorbic acid producing the greatest biomass. Now, after comparing research with the results of my study, addition of vitamin C to tap water used in irrigation water seems to be a useful and economic option for houseplant owners, allowing them to prevent oxidative stress in their spider plants. And based on my data, roughly 500 milligrams per gallon of vitamin C should be added to tap water prior to watering. Who knew plants needed their vitamins too?